welcome back to Cast Me to Hell with me, Seb.
And with me, Robbie.
And it is a hot and sweaty summer's eve as we are recording tonight. We've got sweaty balls.
Yeah, I was going to say petty swallowed all around, you know. Pits, tits, and bits.
In other countries, you'd probably be like, what is that? You know, this is like, I don't know, it's only, I think, like, what, 25, 26 degrees or something like that, Celsius.
Yeah,
not
Celsius.
Fahrenheit.
Not Fahrenheit. I don't know, I
think it's like, that's like 70 something Fahrenheit, so you Americans listening will be like, that's fucking nothing. Like, I live in like 40 degrees, like 100 degrees
yeah, I live
Fahrenheit.
in Mordor. You know?
Yeah, and we're just there like, we in the UK are not prepared for anything.
No, we're not built for this, are we?
And
I love it.
And it's that humid heat. It's that your body just sweats. If you do the slightest activity, your body is sweating.
Fucking rough, isn't it? And as you said, bits, tits, and you know, clits.
What's the other one going?
It's supposed to be bits, tits, and pits.
Yeah.
But my brain froze. So excuse the profanity, lace, and introduction.
There is your. That's how we start the episode, and before we've even gotten to, but the crude humour you've just said to segue nicely into what we're talking about this week. We are doing the dark comedy from 2012. Stitches.
Bitches get stitches, and snitches get them as well. I can't think of anything.
You can't think of the whole. You start doing a reference and go, what was the end of
What was
reference?
the end? Yeah. What's the start?
Stitches get clits.
Stitches get clits.
You don't
Clits
even
get
know where you're
stitches.
going.
I don't know. I'm just freeballing. It's like jazz. It's so we are carrying on our slasher summer or summer slasher, whichever one we have coined it as. I can't remember straight off the bat. And we thought that we'd go for a film which we both read on lists was kind of like an underrated film. It's from the 2010s, which is, you know, last week we did High Tension, Switchblade Romance from France. And we're entering into the 2010s, and now we're back to England, and we are watching Ross Noble, which caught me off guard.
A lot of you won't know, a Geordie comedian.
Yeah, is he
Geordie is Newcastle.
Yeah, Newcastle comedian.
Yeah. In an Irish film.
It
was co-produced by the UK and Sweden.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that.
It's all strange.
It's a film that many probably will have never heard of or have seen, but would just like, well, that just, you know, it's one of those I think you maybe would look at and go, yeah, that looks like low level, you know, kind of indie. For some people, this was probably back close to the time when I think Ross Noble, I don't know where Ross Noble is now, to be honest.
No.
Ross Noble at one point in UK, for British listeners probably would have known, like at one point he was quite a big comedian around the UK, especially, and around this time I remember knowing about it because I knew Ross Noble, and it was like, oh, he's doing a film where he's playing a killer clown kind of thing. Can't say in the last 10 years or so I actually have a clue what happened to Ross Noble.
Well, I mean, I think he was kind of popular on Have I Got News For You, I think.
Yeah.
And what's the other one? The one where this is fascinating listeners.
Yeah.
Fascinating listening.
I've literally got it on Mock the Week.
Mock the Week.
Yeah, that made a lot of big stars out of comedians. That was when it was, and he was on it when it was like popular before it went on for like 10 years past its due.
Yeah.
But it may still be. I think it ended.
But it was we have a lot of American listeners and global listeners. We're that big. It was kind of like a comedy panel show, wasn't it? You know.
Yeah, it were. There is an American one that's very similar to it. I can't.
There's they have to pretend to do shit.
Yeah.
You see a lot of them
when you have like four blokes up and they have improv lines and they just have to make it off.
It's very similar to that.
Yeah, I can't remember what the show's called, but yeah, that's. It's those kind of ones that he was a part of, quite big, quite quick-witted kind of like, and again Geordie kind of humour. Yeah,
kind of slightly bawdy, you know. He wasn't quite like Frankie Boyle, like full on offence. Yeah, but he wasn't. You know, he wasn't like.
He towed the line.
He towed the line.
But you can forgive a Geordie is a forgivable kind of accent. They just
forgivable creature.
It's a sweets-like creature. You see, a Geordie. For those that don't come from the UK, a Geordie is a sweet creature, whereas Frankie Boyle is a Scottish man. And a Scottish man making offensive joke is just an offensive person.
It's just an offensive person. Whereas the Geordie is kind of the cross between like a troll and a human almost.
It's
They're like kind of savage beasts, but the kind-hearted, simple creatures.
Basically,
which explains you because your mum's from Newcastle.
Yeah,
so you're gonna have quarter troll.
Exactly.
I love your mum.
If you go up to Newcastle, you'll be sweetly brought in, and people will talk to you and have kind words for you. You won't be able to understand what they're saying, but they'll have beautiful, kind words.
Lovely
for you.
words.
You just don't understand. If you go to Scotland, you'll probably just be told to fuck off.
You need subtitles wherever you go.
The higher north you go, the more you're slightly getting into a danger zone of offence kind of thing.
So it's definitely the lowest budget film that we've covered for slasher season. We did a little bit of searching online, and it came up with like a $2 million budget, which I'm calling cap on.
Yeah,
you know,
we're not even certain. Like there was a funding from, because this was funded through like the Irish Film Board. You know, they have a lot of grants and stuff like that in the UK and Ireland and stuff like that. So. And they got about 600,000 euros, and I don't know where the extra money came from to add up to 2,000. So questionable as to what's actually correct on this. Then this is all just the only place we found this was mainly Wikipedia. So,
Wikipedia,
you know, it's a questionable source sometimes.
And apparently it did have a limited theatrical release, which I find yet again kind of interesting. I don't believe that.
I don't know if it was wide across all of the UK, but it was certainly. I'd probably say again, because I think maybe just purely due to somewhat recognisable with British public, he would have gone a bit more further. But it would have been one of those ones that probably a lot of you still wouldn't have seen, because it would have been in the cinema for like 2 days. And they're like, no one came.
No one came. Just get it gone.
Which is interesting, because on a lot of the lists I saw, a lot of people called this like a forgotten, underrated kind of gem that no one had. They bet that no one had seen, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Obviously this is summer slasher, and to be fair, when we watched this, I didn't even think about the whole summer slasher part. I've got to be honest. So like in my head now, thinking back, going, is it summer? Because they're still in school, so it's kind of, I guess. It doesn't. It's not like it's obviously not a cold time of year kind of thing, and it is an island, so it's not a cold time of year. So that means it must be around.
It's summer. It's summer.
It's summer-ish kind of thing.
It doesn't specify.
It doesn't specify that it's like specifically like thing. But then again, we couldn't say that High Tension, for instance, was like that's definitely
it was sunny.
Summer. It was sunny.
It was sunny. And
there you go. In the UK and Ireland, if the sun, then you know it's going to only be one time of year.
Yeah, then you know.
Because we live in, as many of you across the pond will probably believe, we live in darkness the rest of the time.
We do.
We're like those creatures in The Descent.
We are.
We just crawl around and scream and wail at each other and just eat each other. That's what we are, except we have posh British accents.
Yes.
We all have the same posh British accent.
Of course, yeah. There's only one accent in the UK.
There is.
Apart from the Geordies.
Apart from the
different creatures.
Geordies, but they're like, as you said, the troll creatures.
The troll subhumans.
As you go north, they live more high above land. So
the altitude affects their brain.
I don't know where we're going with this episode. We're just
freeballing.
We've gone mad with the madness of the clown in this film.
And the heat has just driven us insane.
Insanity. So to get on to the point of the film, because I feel like apart from referencing things to do with the film, we haven't actually talked about what this film is about, or what this film is, kind of thing. So this is a killer clown film. It is it's got a balance of kind of a very dark humour, twisted humour about it. As I said, this is a film where I think a lot of people would go in expecting very little, maybe it to be quite cheap, and expect it to have things that were just like simple, like a killer clown goes around and kills people in like kind of uninteresting ways. And the one thing that straight away that started to draw me in with this film was the fact that the deaths and things are actually really inventive in this film.
Yeah, the deaths
really
are
well done.
Yeah, the deaths are. But I find like this film for me sits perfectly in that kind of like, it's 11 at night, I need to find something to watch on Amazon Prime, you know. And I once watched a film called Windmill Massacre, and it had Neil from The Office in the UK Office. So bear in mind, you know, he had like a supporting role in a sitcom on BBC like 20 years ago, and it's very much as cheap as we can do it, like pretty much one location that this is taking place in. The acting isn't particularly great.
Yeah.
We're moving through the kills thick and fast. Like, it gets, once we get to the main bulk of the film, it's basically somebody dies and then, oh, have you seen so and so? I'll go have a look for them. And then that person dies.
Yeah.
And then, oh, where have they gone? That person dies, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's one of those films where it has horrendous acting and it looks rather cheap. But there is like this kind of charm to it, you know? It's like, it's made by somebody who's just thinking like, fuck it, I want to make a fun film.
It is, yeah. I think that's why it surprised you. It's one of those ones that in the first, 10 minutes or so, you'll be like, oh, what is this film? Because I even found, the acting was questionable. You're like, what the hell is going on? You've even got, I think there was a few like where they'd obviously audio dubbed over certain parts of the lines or something like that. I had to go back and change them, so I noticed a bit of like off dubbing on a couple of early parts.
Yeah.
So it's a questionable thing. I think once it gets properly into like the kind of the killer clown part of it, it goes pretty thick and fast because it's not a long film. It's about an hour and 26 minutes.
It's not long,
like
is it?
No. So it's a short film in a lot of ways, but once the killing and stuff like that happens, I found there is just a thing. If you like a kind of a dark humour to a film, I think you'd probably enjoy this once you get into it.
Yeah.
And that dark humour comes literally right from the first scene. The first scene,
he's on the job.
Yeah.
Ross Noble just pounding
some lass in his caravan.
Yeah.
The caravan was placed literally right on the edge of a cliff. Which I thought was going to come into play at some point in the film. I was like, that's on the edge. And I was like someone getting pushed off in that caravan or something.
And he's just on the job. From
he's
the start.
He's just slaying.
Yeah.
And he's just not loving life because he looks actually quite bored.
He just looks fucking.
She's making noises like she enjoys it, and he's just like, oh fuck it. He's having a cigarette.
I just need
and he's
nut.
just fucking like, I'm just alright, yeah, alright. And it's the weird thing, like his kind of almost like monotone kind of way he responds to everything that you meet at like the start of this film does kind of make you go, what is going on with him? What is the angle with like this? Like he's just meant to be like completely void of like, it almost seems like he's void of any interest in life at all, kind of thing.
Yeah, he comes off as fucking just like,
he doesn't give a shit.
I'm just piping.
He's like that. He's like, oh, I'm already late for a kid's party, and literally like midway through, not even finishing off, he's like midway through, he's like, I gotta.
He's like, fuck it.
He's out. He's just pulling out, pissed.
Pulling out without even a nut.
Running off.
And then there's this one bit where that I found fucking hilarious, and I was cackling at this. Is when I think this set up that it was going to be a much better film than it was, and it's when he's driving to the kids' party.
Yeah.
We see like the mum putting things together, and he's driving with his feet on the steering wheel, and he's smoking, and he's on the phone to the woman, and he says, "I'll be back in an hour. Keep yourself on the boil." And I found that so funny, because it just summed up like this seedy fucking like imagine going to stop in mid pump, going and doing a kids party, and then going back and just carrying on, like not missing a stroke. Just on time,
Just keep yourself in that position, lad. I'll be back in an hour.
It was so funny. Keep yourself on the boil.
It was. I like those little. I liked the little touches, like the whole like it was like the clown driving the car with the feet in that really weird way, so he could continue to be on the phone and smoking, driving recklessly down the road. I also like the little foreshadowing that the headlight on his car, that it was the left one is the one that's patched over with a little cross across his eye. It's got a little foreshadowing of what is to come for him. And all those other bits, like you get introduced to the kids. The kids are your standard child actors. There's no amazing acting going on here. They're not a high class of kid.
That's uncommon. That's common.
That's common. It's only occasionally you get like some good ones. You know what I mean? This is not like a McKenna Grace or Dakota Fanning, or you've got a bit more range going on there.
Yeah.
This is very much your kind of early Harry Potter.
This is. We're not even like. This isn't like the central cast of Harry Potter.
Basically, yeah.
This is like the side character who goes, "What's that?" When they're looking at like a toad or something that they need exposition for.
It's Rupert Grint in the first Harry Potter.
Grinty.
Coming for you, Grint.
Yeah.
It's a simple setup. You've got the kids, birthday party, having thing. You've got one of the kids checking out the mum's rack.
Yeah.
There's just a long shot for a second.
Staring.
The mum's down the mum's top and just him having a look at
having a look. Save that for a wank bank.
And it has, the kids playing around. You don't get the idea that the kids are total dicks right at the start. But once they get to the clown party, they just all turn into complete assholes.
Absolute assholes.
You're just like, you just want him to, I know he's not exactly putting on the best show ever, but you're still like, come on, you're a bunch of mum's just like fucked off.
Yeah.
It's the fact he just goes up, like he's like literally two and just like, give me the cash.
Yeah, give me the cash.
No cash, no show, gets that, and he's like, he knows it's going to be shit.
You know.
Just the way he's acting, getting that. He hasn't got half his stuff, he's just like in there. And he's doing it so half-heartedly, but then the kids are being total assholes all the time. Like, every time he tries to actually show them an actual trick, they're like pouring drinks into his hat, or like burst things, or like tying his laces together.
Well, they pop the bubble that he makes like a bunny dog, and he pops it.
Yeah.
And they keep just like fucking
throwing stuff at him, talking over. He's just like, oh fuck these kids.
And then one of them, slivers down, ties his shoelaces, and then the main character, I can't remember his name, pushes.
We had the setup after the birthday cake, didn't we? After the main boy made his wish for his birthday.
Main boy.
Main boy.
After main boy does this.
The mum puts the knife in the
dishwasher.
He puts it in the dishwasher, but she puts it pointing up. I don't know who in a dishwasher goes, I'm going to place this blade pointing up, because that's going to make sense later.
It's weird, isn't it?
It's like a complete obvious setup for how...
I'm not going to fall
seen it on something
triple
before.
This and die.
I think a character died in like EastEnders or something, because they were pushed backwards and someone had put the knives all pointing up. But I was just like, who the fuck puts knives in a dishwasher pointing up? Because you're just like... Oh, I'm just going to pull the drawer out. Oh, I've just put my hand through the fucking blade of a knife.
I mean, this film does... It is kind of like shot like EastEnders, Like it feels like EastEnders.
This is very much low budget. This is very much like, it's a step up from a student film, but it's not miles past it kind of thing.
No.
But it's more coherent in the special effects.
The special effects are good.
Bring this right up. I think the deaths and special effects have such a dark layer to them. It's such a funny kind of... There's some real funny kind of over the top. So, again, I don't know why I'm picking a logic when the rest of the film does not follow any logic.
No, there's no logic there.
This is a clown who comes back from the dead.
Yeah.
And he dies by... He gets tripped over by the laces, he falls backwards in the kitchen, and all you hear is a plonk down, and then his legs like shaking, and they go round, and the kids walk around, and there is like the knives protruding out the top of his skull. And then and you're like, oh fuck, okay. But then, like this film does in a lot of cases, you think some films like that would be, there's been a death, it's kind of gory, that's enough for this low thing. But they, like this film does a lot, it doesn't just leave it at that one thing. It always pushes it to that extra ghastly, crude mile. So then he stands back up as a clown, and he's got the knife going through his left eye, out the top of his skull, and he kind of plays with it a little bit, so it wiggles about. He's got you can see his eye
it's pretty rotten, isn't
at the top. And he starts and they're all screaming. There's a bit of blood that starts spurting out as he starts to wiggle and pull it out of his skull. And the main kid is literally just there in front of him, literally just getting absolutely splattered covered in blood. It's just like a spray of blood that just comes straight out everywhere and all over. And he just drops down dead again.
He goes to kill him.
He does,
and then he slips and the knife goes up and then comes back down into the same eye.
Yeah, it does. It finishes off that eye.
Yeah.
So he's got the cross.
Yeah, he's got the cross.
Like on the car.
And it's kind of, it's quite a bit like it's quite gory, but it's also that kind of like wackiness that you expect with a film like this. You know, you're gonna have some kind of you need to see like the kind of good looking gore, but also over the top, and you can see.
I mean, this is what I mean. The deaths and the kills is what we're here for.
Yeah,
and it's very much in this film with the case of that's what feels. You know, they do set up the other characters. They give them a little bit of a background for each of them. You know, based on that party. You know, the kid that threw the stuff in the hat. The kid that talks about the kid that like he put the coin from his ear, but then basically he just like swore at him after that. The girl that puts her finger up to him when he's trying to ask nicely about, so you know, you get those little moments that kind of set up, and then we get them when they're older. We get
we get this rom-com introduction, don't we?
Yeah.
Before that, actually, we get something that was kind of creepy, and I feel like for every film like this where it is rather low budget, there's always one scene that's kind of like, this is rather creepy.
Oh, is this when he goes to the graveyard?
Yeah, to the graveyard.
To see,
and you have like the clowns doing a service, and they're kind of doing like a really mournful like mock laugh.
Yeah, and it sets up that just before that thing, it sets up the whole like he has a telescope in his hat, you know, because the girl that he loves later on gave him a little kiss on his birthday when he was like 8 years old, 9 years old, whatever.
So he looks for the
so he was
famous
like,
beats off.
Yeah, and he has as well, and it just so happens that you can see directly onto the graveyard.
Yeah,
exactly when they're doing the burial of the clown kind of thing.
Yeah,
and watching it there, and you've got like his missus that he was banging in the caravan, who just like screaming, crying, but then the second the guy's over, they just kind of just walk off like.
But they go down the steps, don't they?
Yeah.
And then they go and there's all these like eggs that the clowns gave him or something like that. And there's like there's the Stiches egg, and that scene, like when they were in the graveyard and then they're walking downstairs, I was like, that's kind of creepy. You know, it's kind of weird. And then they're laughing at him, or they say something to him like, a clown, you know, it's a very bad thing for a clown to die, to not finish a party. You know, a clown that doesn't finish a party can't rest. And then we go forward, and you get like rom-com introduction. Yeah, because you've got characters grown up.
All those different like clowns, different styles of clowns, all very weird. There's only like one of them that really has a proper speaking line. The rest of them all kind of just look weird. But yeah, this whole weird egg setup where they've got an egg that is kind of, each clown has this egg kind of thing. Is a bizarre one, but it has a fun payoff later at the end of the film, I think. And then we jump forward like 6 years or 8 years or something like that, and we're there for, you know, when they're all teenagers.
I'm assuming it's like 8 years. They're like 16.
It's like 16, yeah. I think they're all a bunch of like, I think they're maybe at the end of school.
16ers. Break it up for summer holidays.
We meet him, and you know, and we, you know, again realise that some of the logic from the start maybe makes more sense, because it seems his mum isn't really in control of anything. No. He's like trying to help her out and things like that. But to generally get the gist, because again, this is the part where it's like there's not really much to say, to be honest. It's a setup for what's coming afterwards.
Yeah,
there's
basically.
not, you know, they try to add in a little bit of a very British kind of, a bit soapy kind of style of, you know, it's like watching an episode of Hollyoaks or something like that.
Or
you know,
Waterloo.
Yeah, Waterloo Road or something like that.
Yeah.
It's you know, he's got some like mental health problems from the clown thing. He keeps seeing clowns. Now there is one or two like kind of odd, creepy scenes that are kind of thrown into it. For the most part, you get to meet in this very kind of odd, like basically giving the picture next to them of like the kid they were as a child. So like it just appears on screen.
It's
like
rather weird, isn't it?
I mean, it's again though. I didn't really. It didn't bother me so much, because it was like, I feel like you're literally just trying to like, let's just get on with it. We don't need to spend ages being like, this is this kid, and there's so many kids to set up and stuff. It was more the style of how he showed it, like a little picture box that appears in the thing, like it's a comic book or something like that.
It reminded me of like a little rom-com, you know, where somebody's walking and then it stops, and then it brings up like Angus Fong's and Perfect Snogging or something.
Yeah.
Like somebody gets out of their car and it freezes, and it's like Jake, and then Jake walks, and then it goes to the next person.
It's that kind of like comic caricature kind of thing.
We get the
instead
ball
of just
ripping.
being, I think. But yeah, that's one of the
Which is
creepy
fun.
ones. We have a few. He keeps seeing like flashes of like clowns and stuff like that. Even in his breakfast, he sees what looks like a clown. Like, he
Like a
can't
clown
escape.
face, yeah.
So
He's
he
haunted.
keeps getting these moments of what's happening and where's it, and all that, and then he has this scene in the when we've kind of met all of the characters as grown-ups kind of thing. Several of them. One of the girls turned into a right asshole, a right bitch kind of thing.
Yeah, one's a bitch.
One of the guys that was his friend at the time is a proper little fucking psycho dickhead who's the boyfriend of the bitchy character.
He's like this weird kind of like skater guy.
Yeah, he's got his mate. He's got his best friend who's mate Vinny. I remember that name for some reason.
I remember it because I was thinking, what the fuck is a guy in like York? No, it's in Ireland, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's an Irish person doing being called Vinny? Like
just because you're thinking of like West End London should be like Vinny Jones.
Yeah. Or like American. I was thinking like, oh, this guy's got like Italian American parents. He's called Vinny.
Yeah, you've got.
It's a rather odd name.
It is a bit of an odd one. Yeah, I guess it is, but I don't know. Irish American.
Irish
links there.
They are strenuous links. There's
the gay kid.
The big
that thing, because he's very much a kind of like he's very much he's a kind of like a catty kind of. It's like he's Irish. He's Graham Norton.
Yeah, he's like a Graham Norton.
It's a bit like it's trying to do a bit of a Graham Norton kind of like
not
character.
quite Louis Spence, but kind of like Graham Norton, catty gay lad.
Kind of camp. Not all the way, but enough there.
Yeah.
And then you've got his one true love, who's dating some other lad, kind of thing.
Who's obsessed with music and playing guitar.
Yeah, and a bit controlling a little bit, and kind of and wants to tell her everything about the fact that he's amazing at everything. Basically your standard boyfriend character who's against the main character who's just an asshole, and you're like, you're just, when are you going to die kind of thing.
Yeah, you know it's going to come.
Yeah.
You know it's going to happen.
I don't think it does come.
No, I don't think it actually
He doesn't die. Like no one outside of the friends group dies, I don't think.
Well, Stitches wasn't after them, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So he's only after those ones, but I still expected some more of them.
I think
he's so set up to die.
He is, isn't he?
That you're just like, how did you not die kind of thing. Like, and there's also an extremely forgettable other friend.
Which
the dude who has like the camera and he has a girl he's like talking to, but he's literally like, he's the least memorable of the lot of them. He gets probably one of the craziest deaths in the film. Fucking insane death in the film. But he's completely just like he I don't know. He's like stands for nothing.
What is his vibe? Because they all have a vibe, right?
He's kind of portrayed as kind of the nerdy kind of one.
I thought
he was the
like
one
the
that I wasn't
man.
sure if he was. He was the one that I wasn't sure if was like, was gay but wasn't like showing people, because he had like girl coming onto him and he had no interest. He's
the wingman, because there's later on when they get to the house party, the girl who lost loads of weight turns up, and I find this really funny because it's that thing of like, this is in 2012 and they're supposed to be like a big woman, and she's like not that big. And it's and at one point Stitches is like, he says some line about like being full up, and he's like, surely you've got the stomach for it, and it's like, that's the kind of thing you'd be like in 2012. Oh, that person's fat, and really they're just like a normal body.
She's really not that big.
We gave that girl like horrendous self.
You get the same with the like
esteem issues.
Yeah, you get the same with the like the gay lad.
I guess the gay lad.
He's got a whole like thing about it. He gets jokes about him being a fan. You're just like, you're not really.
You're not really that fat. You're plump, maybe.
Yeah, a plump little
fat. You're just a plump little gay lad. You're not rotund or anything like that.
I feel like the little nicknames need to stop before we start saying ones are like, was that too offensive?
Far too over the line.
Push that. We're capable of
we are.
Regularly.
We are. Which is your reminder to please subscribe.
And leave us a lovely review.
Leave us a lovely
review. Our absolutely horrific comments.
Yes.
About the world around us.
Yeah. And then this is the bit where he's in the class after.
Yeah.
And he's having a hallucination that the teacher is a clown. And then I think the teacher gets Vinny's dick out. And
this is so weird.
It's
like,
weird.
I couldn't get the context of why Vinny wasn't even like talking in the class. So I don't know why his mind went to Vinny's dick.
Yeah.
Because this is all in his mind. So in his mind, he's
seeing
just imagining a clown, and he's also thinking about Vinny's dick.
Yeah, the two just merge, you know.
Yeah, because literally, just like he just walks up. There's no real context or thing.
No.
But like he goes up to him, you think, okay, you're having some freak out. So it looks like he's going to do something to Vinny. But the fact he just like reaches down and just like pulls off his dick. And he's just like playing with it, like in his face.
Yeah.
He's like talks. He makes a joke about it being like a small package or something. Like that.
Yeah.
I swear, he like puts it right up to his nose.
He sucks it.
Or he like
sucking it off.
In my head, I've got him like putting it up to his nose or like giving his tongue on it or something. Like
he's just tonguing it.
He's just tonguing that dick off.
Yeah. And then what do we?
Then in all of this, there's a whole setup about it's his birthday. And,
he hasn't had a party
since
had a party. The clown died.
Vinny starts going, we can set up a proper party. He says he doesn't want one. But then it starts just spreading around. And everyone starts to be like, we're going to be at this party.
Somebody makes a Facebook invite. And
Yeah.
I remember always being like, don't make a Facebook invite for a party.
Yeah.
Because you always read a story where like a girl did it.
Got like invaded.
Like 600 people.
What was it
up.
back in the? It was in fact, probably around or a little bit earlier than this time. It was the skins parties.
Yeah,
skins parties used to be the favourite when everyone kind of went over to Facebook. The height of skins kind of thing when they had those major house parties, in the first couple of seasons or whatever, and people started doing that and being like, they're having that, and then people started posting about it, saying this is a skins party. So anyone who was having like a little party suddenly would be invaded by anyone around the area.
It's fucking mental.
Skins, you know what I mean? Or Nicholas Holt.
A Nicholas Holt party.
Setting up the doom and gloom of people whose houses were literally fucking trash.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like you saw pictures of them online where literally just anyone, and we're talking anyone, I mean the hobo down the street, whacking off in the cupboard. Just beating off in the middle of it, every thug from around the area is just like, we'll get on this. Robbing the house, destroying the house. Like literally, one of them I think got burnt down.
Killing the cat.
They were just like, "How do we end this party? Fucking burn it
to the ground." This house is done. That's all I can do now.
Everything, like people, and it happened to some, all kinds of different things. But I remember it when it was like people, it was like lots of people like, "Holy shit, that's terrible!" And then there was someone who was this really like rich kid. I don't know, from this rich family or something, and they'd done it and everyone invaded and I'm like, we fucking deserve it.
Yeah, from that.
Fuck him.
Yeah, fuck him,
I'm sure their insurance will pay for it.
That's it, I hope they skin him alive.
Yeah. But yeah, just, that was a weird time, but this is kind of, not quite that level of just like fucking shitting, like, shitting his hands down.
They all just, everybody just goes in, just drops trout, shits. And it's just covered in it. No, this is very much like. I always said this, like In-Betweeners was kind of a bit more what life was like,
Yeah.
And this is what I remember: house parties at your place and my place, ones that we went to when we were young, and it was just like this. People just stood around, like drinking, talking, music
drinking, playing games, things like that. Yeah, people popping off.
Yeah, people
popping off.
People just beating off.
People just beating off. I mean, I'm pretty sure it happened a couple of times.
Yeah, people just popping off. Like whenever they wanted.
Whenever they wanted to.
It was a real open vibe.
Yeah.
Have a drink, beat off, whatever. Drop a nut, whatever sounds good.
That's
for
whatever
you.
happened, or whatever happened.
Whatever happened.
It stays in the past.
Yeah. But
and then like we're glossing past this bit because this bit is just this. There's nothing amazing about a characterization here. There's a few of them that have some quite like good lines and so interesting part and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there are some like funny like one-liners and things that come out of people's mouths and stuff like that. But generally, this is your standard teenager set up to be killed.
Basically, it's like they decide to have this party, and then the flyer somehow flows through
from Vinny's room when he's trying to have a wank.
Yeah, when he's trying to beat off on us.
He goes on some weird,
It's just on Facebook, I think. Just beating off.
It's some kind of group chatty thing, but he just presses on one of the girls' page, and then I don't know if it actually. Now I think about it, it might actually be the girl that he's then getting with later. Maybe. I think it actually is that girl. So He's just,
he's just having a safety
he's warming
wank,
himself up, whatever.
He's just clearing the pipes.
Doesn't want anything to happen too soon.
Yeah.
And then that flies off, and it's like grabbed out of the ground by Ross Noble's Stiches.
Well, it lands on it, doesn't it? And then he starts to come up.
Yeah. We have some of the, it's a bit like, the old Evil Dead kind of poster.
A little, yeah.
This film has a couple of those where it's like somebody who like watches a lot of horror
films.
It has a couple of shots in this film that are like, I know that reference.
I know that, yeah.
I get that one. But yeah, apart from that, it pretty much is just the setup. And it does take quite a while for him to actually arrive, to be fair. Yeah. I know it's not a long film, but it felt like...
I'd say it's about 25 minutes, half an hour.
All the deaths come pretty
thick and fast.
Once they come.
Because they I remember this, they have like a little montage where they get the house ready for a party.
Yeah.
And they bring like loads of snacks and like 12 beers. And I'm like, okay, lads. I'm sure that'll be
too hard, lads.
Sure that'll be enough. And then one of them is like, come on, let's hope some chicks turn up. And I think the gay lad says something like, yeah, hopefully. And I was like, I remember writing that. And then and that's when people start to turn up. Stiches comes alive, and effectively, like, main boy, whatever his name is like trying to see people who's turned up. It's gone way out of control. He ends up eating those brownies. He ends up eating too much.
Oh yeah, the weed
gets real baked.
Yeah.
And then we get like a little jump scare as a clown turns up, but it turns out to be Paul, the shitty guy, and the shitty girl,
like, little psycho lad,
the psycho boy.
Yeah, he decides to show that with his little bitchy missus kind
of
thing. Who actually, to be fair, her character, by the time we got to Leia, I actually kind of liked her in the kind of the bitchy kind of character way. I kind of liked her, whereas this dude I just didn't like at all. He was just an asshole.
You knew he was going to die first as well, man.
Yeah,
he had the look.
He was fully set up for it kind of thing. Yeah, and it does, I mean, to be fair, actually, in its full character, to be fair, in its own, me saying it like it's the standard, but actually, as I said, it does actually give a fair amount of time for all the characters to kind of have interactions and be in the house and set up different things like, them drinking, them sorting out the house, them getting in little conversations with each of the characters like that he'd previously known kind of thing. And obviously you've already had the setup in the school as well, the fact that he's not really greatly with a lot of them, he's not hugely friends with anymore that you were when you were kids kind of thing.
Just the boys in
each other. Just a couple of them, like a couple of the boys, isn't it?
Just the lads.
Yeah,
the main four.
One lad.
Yeah.
So it all sets it up quite nicely. But to be honest, the main thing and the main reason to watch this film is what comes when he gets to the house. It has some really kind of fun, inventive things I think that they do with it. That actually I was like, for this kind of film, you've actually really kind of thought about how to make this clown a little bit different. It's not just a clown with a knife who's just going around stabbing people up, which is kind of what you expect of it.
A little bit.
You expect, he got stabbed with a knife, you're kind of thinking it's just going to be like a standard slasher where he's just going to go around slicing people up.
It kind of does fit into that very low budget. But you always find that it seems as if they spend most of that on the kills. The kills are always going to be like way over the top. The gore looks like good, but it looks clearly fake. It's a lot of like people standing there and letting their arm be ripped off.
There's definitely a bit of a comedy part. They kind of play the comedy. Actually, one film series that makes me think of this using another clown is Terrifier, because Terrifier is I find the Terrifier films are meant to have this kind of darkly humour comic part, but whenever I've watched the first and the second one, you haven't watched the second one.
I've watched the second, yeah.
But as I've mentioned previously, that actually, so for me, quite often with those ones, a lot of the humourish part of it actually falls really flat, I thought, in those films. The special effects, the gore is amazing and extremely over the top and kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I've said previously that especially the second one of that, I found really it's just trying so hard to be in poor taste that it's just not even fun anymore. It's just kind of, you just feel horrified and bad, and that's why some people like them, but this is kind of a bit similar to that, where it's going very over the top with the violence. It's going a bit crazy, a bit OTT. But I don't know. There was something that was legitimately, I thought about a lot of them, that was legitimately quite funny and kind of fun. Which is in my head, where I was just figuring of terrified, because I find a lot of those ones that actually they're not really fun. They're horrific kind of thing. But in one way, it's kind of meant to be horrific, but it's also meant to have that dark humour, which is something I actually don't think works that well. Whereas here, I think the dark humour, especially in a couple of deaths, really is spot on. And obviously, as we've said, the first death we've got set up with main guy and the girl that he likes and stuff like that. Trying to get conversations. Her asshole boyfriend's there again, but he's drinking tons, and she's going off because she's trying to look after our main lad, because he's
fucking
high as
stoned as
fuck, and he doesn't know what to do and what to say.
He's pranging out.
Yeah, and he's
white
shy lad.
Yeah, he is. He's shy and he's whiting.
And you got Vinny setting up the play with that lass that he was whacking it over.
Yeah, he's trying to play the moves on her. The gay lad is real high, trying to get some scran on.
he goes into a cupboard and just starts fucking
eating.
What is he having? He's having
cherries or.
I was like, why have all the things at a party? Why you do go into
strawberries or something like that?
I mean, fruity. Yeah, because he just goes and gets fruit. If I'm high at a party, the first let's go into their cupboard and get their seemingly thousands of cans of tinned fruits. Yeah, and these delicious cherries and strawberries. And at first I thought he was drinking some kind of Slim Fast shake or something like that.
And he wants to get on the Slim Fast.
But then I was like, is that fruit or cherries that's coming out of that? And I was like, what the fuck? But it's just the weirdest. It's I'm sure at this party someone must be having a bag of Doritos.
Something.
Someone must, but instead he just fucking gorges himself. They implied he has a proper weight problem, I think, is kind of what they say. That he can't control it, so he's sneaking off so people can't see him gorging himself. It's just tins of I'm gorging myself on tins of strawberries and pineapple.
I just see you high as fuck eating tin peaches.
I mean, next time I will be now. I feel like this will be on my brain. Next time you're just going to see me in a cupboard and I'm just going to be down in cans of things.
You'll be butt naked.
I'll be butt naked and my hand will be one hand is on the tin, one hand is on me. No,
one hand's on pipe just straight.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, and I'm enjoying the fruit too much.
You pop it off.
and that's the new. There's a new term that needs to be coined for eating cans of fruit in a cupboard while whacking it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not quite like suffocating yourself like David Carradine in a cupboard, but there's something weirdly sexual about it.
There's something exotic.
There's something I'm eating these exotic fruits while I whack it. Imagine I'm on a beach in the Caribbean in the nice sun eating fresh pineapple, but instead I'm eating some Diamante pineapple with its delicious syrup going down my chin. I'm beating it at the same time.
In a stranger's cupboard.
In a stranger's cupboard. That's where you'll find me next time. Next time you have a bit of a smoke.
Believe me, you know where I'll be.
Yeah. Sadly, Rob does not have a
no, I don't have a
cupboard to use.
No, or tinned fruit.
I have a pantry at home now.
Just be in there.
Time to practice.
To the first kill.
Back
on track.
You did name him before, but I can't remember. And
Paul.
I'm just going with these that lad, nasty lad.
This was Paul. I actually wrote his name down.
Paul, psycho lad dressed as a clown. He goes up to the roof. And again, this is when it has several layers to it, because you think it's that's it, he's fucked kind of thing. But then there's he does more and more stuff to the lad.
Yeah.
So he gets up to, you see him sneaking around in the background stitches as he gets into the house, and he sneaks around, people going to different rooms, and he's kind of moving around as he gets there. But it is the roof, isn't it?
Yeah,
he finds him on part of the roof,
like a balcony.
Yeah, I was gonna say the ending, but how does it start? His death off the top of my head.
He says he sees him, and then I thought he was going to push him off, but he basically says won't you he beats him up a little bit. I think he pushes him against the wall, and then he's like, will you give me a hand? Rips his arm off, and that's when I was like, okay, I think that's it. He's ripped his arm off. There's blood splurting everywhere. He's got a that's it, you know. He's fucked. And then, if I recall,
because I forgot about that ripping off his ear. Because he
rips his ear off as well.
He rips his ear off, and then he pulls out the because he did multiple. Because he's the one who did the coin behind the ear, but he's also the one that poured the drink into the hat with the rabbit in it.
That's it.
So then he pulls the rabbit out of. Pulls the rabbit out of his mouth.
Oh yeah.
He puts his hand down his throat.
Yeah, that's it.
And you see this whole like as he puts his arm down his throat and pulls out a rabbit.
Yes.
That's what I mean. I thought it was legitimately like that's the thing. He does one or two things and you're like, oh, that's he's fucked. He's ripped his arm off. He's done this. This dude's fucked. And then he keeps going further with it and doing more things, but in like a really like fun way, like pulling a rabbit out of someone's. And then he kicks his head off.
And then he boots his head off, which is a classic.
Fly into the pond across the way, kind of thing.
Yeah, and then he says, "What is the?" I can't remember really many of the one-liners. I'm afraid.
Well, there's one because his girlfriend when he goes and she walks over to he walks over to the one our main lad is in love with.
Yeah.
When they start getting into a fight, but when she first walks over. Because we have this scene when his head starts to float back up.
Yes.
And you're thinking for a second, oh, is it because someone's about to find it or see it or something like that? And no, it's purely, you have this separate scene of his head float up purely to set up the joke when she walks over and goes, oh, have you seen Paul floating around?
That's it.
It's like those kind of jokes. And there's a lot of those jokes. I can't remember everything that Ross Noble says, but he makes a lot of, it's every death is followed by like a pun.
By something. That's it. When he kicks, I'm looking on IMDb now. When he kicks Paul's head off, he says, "This party's really kicking off now."
Yeah. And then this is you have that scene with the two girls because she calls her like the blowjob queen or whatever, and then she like headbutts her in the face.
Yeah.
But this is also when she goes inside, you see Stitches on the stairs, and this is one of the first like inventive things they do is. He takes the nose off his face.
Yes.
And behind it, you can see that his nose is gone, like kind of thing. And the nose is actually like a part of like his like he can use it in a way because it rolls off. He like lets it roll and it rolls off, and he asks it to go and find them. And you have this like little nose that's like going around, like searching,
real,
like,
quite cool.
going up to people and things like bouncing around, moving through up and down. And it's like I quite liked it. It was an inventive way to use like a clown kind of trope.
Like tracking him. Yeah. And then he goes into the he goes into the pantry and that's when he says he thinks it's Paul and he's like, I'm not Paul. He had to head off. Wink wink. And then he cracks open.
He uses a tin opener and literally
the lad's skull.
Yeah, he literally opens up his skull. The lad that was eating all those cherries.
Beating off.
And he literally he gets an ice cream scoop and starts to scoop his brains out into little ice cream style balls, and then literally picks them up and pours the rest of his brain juice over it like a little
like a little sundae.
Little sundae.
I think that was my least favourite death, I'll be honest.
Really?
Yeah, I remember watching it thinking like, kind of expected a little bit more,
Well, he has the whole.
He uses him as a bit of like
the music is playing at the same time. I
just
died in your arms. I just died, and then it has a scene of him literally holding him in it, like across his arm, like holding him up. I don't know. I kind of liked it because they uses him like a puppet.
Yeah.
Again, the bitchy lass walks in and doesn't realise that he's dead, even though you can see like the top of his skull sticking up.
Yeah.
He's got his hand and he's hiding it behind there, and he's just staring. He's like, she asked him legitimately, like, do you need help or something? And he just kind of makes him kind of like shrug at it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like brain sculpt out again. There is a one-liner that follows that to do with ice cream, but I can't remember how
I can't remember either.
So that's one other of the interesting deaths again, but still, it's not my favourite in there either, but it is still quite inventive kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's still fun, like the whole cracking his head open like a tin, like he was just like related to what he was doing at the time, kind of thing. I can't remember what he did to him at the party originally.
I think he did like I don't know. I think he
just threw something at him or something like that. I thought
maybe and then the girl dies. The bitchy girl.
I really like hers is like really fun, and again, like because she'd gone from like in the film, like character-wise. She'd gone from like fighting with others and stuff like that, hadn't found her boyfriend. But when she comes to certain points, you know, she makes a few jokes at the expense of Vinny, because he gets with that lass and he takes her up to the room.
He starts fucking laying pipe.
Yeah, because she makes some kind of joke about it because you two were perfect for each other. Because
you're a perfect pair, a dick and a cunt.
Yeah,
I thought that was so good.
And that's what I mean. I think it's because I thought her lines were actually quite like they were quite. She's a bitchy character, but she was oddly likable in the kind of like she's quite clever kind of thing.
That was a great line.
And because she's got that little thing when he appears, because she walks into the attic or something like that.
Into the attic.
And there he is, like against the window, and obviously she thinks it's Paul.
Yeah, lover boy.
And then she realises it's not, but you know, she does start to put up a good little fight to start with. She's fighting back against him. She gets a stiletto heel and shoves it through and into his cheek. I think
into his neck. I think.
Oh no, it is. Yes, into his neck. Yeah, shoves it into his neck and like pushes it into his neck and kind of thing. And she kind of thinks for a second that he's been stopped so she can get out of there before she realises that he's not quite human anymore.
No, and then there's this great bit that I loved, which got a little giggle from me again, and that's where she rolls off the bed and he says something, and she spits at him, and then he opens the umbrella and just blocks the spit.
Yeah.
She runs off, and then he just yeets it through her eye, and then says, "Take it from behind." Nice little quip there. She then falls down and the umbrella like pops open.
It's good, but it's the added part that she's running away and the effect looks really quite seamless to me. I thought when it pops through the back and pops out.
It looked really
eye,
cool.
You have the umbrella, but it's the extra touches. Is the fact she goes down and then you see her brain and her like slide through and there's even stuff coming out the top of her eyeball. Cool. But then, as the final little touch, when she finally reaches the bottom, the umbrella opens and the blood just goes across the whole room.
Which is such a good kill.
It's just such it's such cool. I think that might have been my favourite kill, but there is a fucking insane one that's kind of but yeah, that one's. I just thought that one had really like nice touches. Because it had a bit of a fight back, which some of the other ones didn't really have.
It's quite cool.
Because the first lad the second lad, nothing at all, because he's caught straight away. The first lad, not really. He tries for a second, but it's nothing to it, kind of thing, because his arm was ripped off so quick.
Yeah, he's gone.
His ear and his arm was ripped off. But yeah, I really liked hers. And then we have obviously a bit of a freak out with our main lad who sees him in the window, and he just starts going insane and telling people, and nobody believes him because he's been saying these kind of things for a while.
And he's high as fuck.
Yeah, exactly. So people just think what's going on, and then we have the true conundrum, the Sophie's choice. What do you do in this situation? Vinny is. Well, let's be honest. Vinny is taking forever to get anywhere near piping this lass, even though they took their clothes off. Like before the other lass died, they'd already gone into the room, taken their clothes off. And then it took the whole time of him killing the other lass.
He's enjoying some foreplay, He's laying.
And I believe before they even get to the end of this decision, another person is dead.
Mate, yeah, but I think so.
So. Vinny's not like. I know there was a slight nervousness, but to be honest, once they were in bed and they were already talking about getting their clothes off and she'd already taken it off, I was like, alright, so the next scene we see is going to be them piping. And yet we get to the next when he starts freaking out and running around the house and saying these people are, dead, and that, like people are going to die if we don't. We need to get out of here. And, oh my god, And he seems like someone half people wouldn't believe anyway. To be honest, I'd be like, nah, mate, I'm going to keep drinking.
I'm going to keep piping.
And the main thing is, you're gonna stop piping. I don't think there's a. I think for many people out there, they would not be following his advice. They wouldn't even have stopped.
No, they'd
like fuck off.
They'd just been ongoing. Just fuck off. Leave me alone.
I mean, in that situation with Vinny, I feel that many of the people would have just gone fuck off, or even the last might have gone up to the door and went punched him in the face. Fuck off.
Fuck off.
We're doing this.
We're in it. We're in full swing. The beast with two backs.
I mean, and also the fact that. Is this the last that is meant to have lost a lot of weight?
Yeah.
And that's why she's a bit.
She's probably starved.
Because let's be honest,
Pipe's
Vinny's batting.
Yeah.
He is. Vinny's one of the lass here that is just like, how you, not her, you know, she's far better looking than you, lad. You're lucky that she has low self-esteem.
Yeah.
She'll regret this. Many years
will.
later, she'll regret this whole situation majorly, lad.
Yeah, she was pipe starved.
If you
That's
were
what it is.
the first, if you are the, I don't know if you're the first or the whatever you are, but yeah, this isn't going in a happy memory.
Yeah, this probably isn't.
But it's alright, because as I said, Vinny takes about 15 freaking minutes to get anywhere near even thinking about starting. Yeah, so you've got that conundrum of would you or would you not do the piping? Would you go ahead with it, or would you believe your friend and go out? I bet you if we did a poll on it, get onto X and do a little poll, I'm betting you 99% there's that one bloke.
Yeah,
that one bloke who's just like, nah.
Well, come and let us know. You know, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at CMTH Podcast. Either put hashtag Team Piping or hashtag Team Fighting, and let us know what you're doing.
The old pipe or flight.
Yeah, we'll put this to the social media stream, you know.
What would you do if you know a serial killer's on the loose, but you're that close to getting that
close
pipe
to
going?
being on the job?
Are you doing it, kind of thing? You know, are you going for it? If you're gonna die anyway, you might as well. You know, I guess
you might as well have it there. You know.
And then we've also got all the lads. But I believe before we get to the whole, she ends up actually leaving because she's like, "What the hell are you doing?" Before we get to the end of that, I believe the other lad dies, doesn't he?
Yeah, the kind of nondescript lad who's we haven't really decided what his thing is, and by this point he's fucked, man.
Yeah, Richie. Yeah, so he's the lad we're talking about that basically like doesn't really get much. Like he's mainly just high or kind of not really wanting to do things or kind of just being blasé. So you don't really get anything from him apart from the fact he doesn't want to pipe a lass that wants a major pipe.
He's moving her away, you know. Yeah. He's being wingman.
He's being wingman, but it's still he's doing that. But yeah, he doesn't want, even though I'm pretty sure at his age, I think if someone was coming on to you that much,
you'd be fucking going.
Let's
you'd be going,
man. I'm the wingman, but let's get some. Let's get winging.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he doesn't want any part, and yeah, she's a bit rejected, and he kind of goes off. I don't know who he goes outside.
Goes outside for some reason.
He goes outside looking for someone. I think
because people need to get outside.
Because they need to get outside in a horror film.
Yeah.
And yeah, this one goes so fucking insane.
This was mental.
This one did not go where I was expecting it to go. And the fact it did made me like this film. I think I'd add an extra star just for the fact the film goes, yeah, fuck it, let's just do it. Let's just hang ball. Because yeah, he gets attacked outside. He literally comes outside with his blade, slices his guts open, so his guts fall out, and then he starts taking chunks of the guts off. So he like gets his intestine and like slices a chunk off of it, kind of thing.
And it's very much low budget intestine, you know.
Yeah,
It doesn't look like real. It's fucking huge,
big, huge,
rubbery.
wide. Yeah. Taking those slices out of him. Again, then you've got some quips of flowing as they're going around. Let it all out, I think, or something like that kind of thing. There's like those kind of lines that like getting thrown around, and then. Look, he rips out his intestines, he flattens them into a balloon because he was the one he did the balloon for. He wanted the balloon.
And this is where I thought the death would end.
Yeah.
You know?
Before, and then he stabs him after he's finished with the balloon and popping his intestines in front of him. He then stabs him in the back of the head with a bike pump. And you're like, oh, fuck, okay, he's dead. Like, oh, he looks like he's on the way out. And he's definitely dazed because he's got a fucking bike pump.
He's got a bike pump in his head.
But then it goes to the next level and he starts pumping it up.
Yeah.
He starts pumping and bumping, and you're just like, alright, where's this going? And
you know where it's going.
Yeah, you do, but you're like, how is this going to be shown, or how is this going to work? And yeah, he legitimately starts inflating his head like a balloon, and it starts going. And again, I really like the kind of cartoonish effect.
Oh man,
the way that they've got a practical balloon. They've got a practical like balloon, like thick layered vinyl or something like that.
Yeah.
And they've inflated it with the actual like facial features of him. And the way it gets bigger and bigger, and there's still movement in like eyes, and there's still like a screaming like, oh my god, until it literally goes bang, And like the blood of this brain matter goes everywhere.
And you get like, you know, 3 or 4 like action replays of the brain splatting. We forgot one scene which was also really funny, and that's when he does send the nose, and then a cat gets it and starts playing with it, and then he grabs the cat and he starts smacking it around, counting the life.
I was I forgot about that. Because that all popped to my head, I was like, as a cat owner, I was like, how would Rob feel about this scene? You know what I mean?
It's hilarious, man.
To be fair, I mean, this is the thing, and this is the thing that somewhat stretches it from being, you know, it's offensive, but at the same time, it knows that it's not like fully real, as in realistic. It knows it's got a budget within practical effects that you're going to notice that things aren't real. And the thing here is, you know, I'd say that this is one that for some people will go like, oh my god, you can't do that to a cat. You know what I mean? Like there's that whole no-kill animals.
It's so tongue-in-cheek.
But it is tongue-in-cheek because, to be honest, the cat doesn't look like the real cat. The cat does just look like a stuffed toy that's being flung around, but they've added on the sounds of this cat. Like, and it only happens for a second because obviously the cat gets the thing and he's like, get it. And they like grabbing the cat, but he's just literally smashing it, and he's like making really violent grunting. And I'm like, God,
he's going 1, 2.
Oh yeah, he's counting 9 lives.
Yeah,
counting down his 9 lives as the cat like makes these like screeching until he stops on like number 9. If I like, and you've got the blood splatting as well with the cat. But
it's really funny scene, man. You know, and it basically, you know, that kind of like that's it. We basically then go from that part. They go to warn like Vinny. Everybody's running out of the house and escaping, and they fight him off. Kind of, you know, they fight him off a little bit, and then I think like they stab him, and they cover him in some blankets or something. Like they try and tie him up. And then after that, I think what happens then? Because he's got like that hand, hasn't he? That he fires off and like knocks Katie unconscious, and as the main character's trying to get her back conscious, Vinny like scuttles off, and that's when you're like, oh, you prick. And I can't. Then do they escape then, or does he take them to the graveyard? I can't remember.
No, this is when because they both get on the bikes because he's got. His mum bought him the same bike for his birthday, which is earlier on.
Oh, yeah.
She's like a little sign, like all the old presents around the side, and you're thinking, it's a car.
Yes,
and he's thinking it's a car, and literally walk around, he has an identical bike. His mum's forgets him so much that she's literally bought him the same bike again.
Yes, that's
like for the same. So they ride off on those bikes. Because this is really funny, because then Ross Noble sees the little Tinker Trike.
Oh, yeah.
And he's literally going down on the little Tinker Trike down the street after them, like chasing after them, getting faster and faster as they're getting away. Like he manages to catch up, even though they had a good lead. He's like really quick on his little little tricycle kind of thing, which is really funny. That kind of old trope of the clown kind of thing, but using it in quite a fun way. You know, they do still get just ahead of him, so they go down to the graveyard, and they've got the plan because he remembers about all the eggs in the side of the castle. They go past his grave. You know, he starts coming after them, chasing through them. They realise that they're only going to get like one of them needs to go in, while the other one kind of tries to keep an eye out for him and probably getting towards them, because they manage to avoid him in the graveyard and get away from him. So they go inside the castle.
Well, he starts hiccuping, doesn't he, for some reason? And then she's like. She looks at him and you think, she's going to suck him off, because they talk about her being always giving blowjobs.
Yeah.
And she just starts slurping him in this graveyard. But, you know, she kisses him, and then that keeps him quiet. He slivers off
the lips,
on the lips. Yeah, on the lips. He just kisses his little belly. And then I think that's when is that when he catches them? I'm sure he catches them. Or he catches them when they've already got the egg, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's when he gets them inside. He drags them back out. Yeah,
fucking egg.
He got the egg, but it's not. Is it him who ends up like he got the egg, but then he gets caught before it? But then is it Vinny that comes back that then gets the actual for the final part kind of thing?
I think so.
Back,
yeah.
So Vinny's the one that actually helps them to get that part, so that and he's got them, and like obviously he's going to kill them, but obviously then Vinny ties the shoelaces together again.
We're going back around to where we began.
And he drops his egg, because he's got it, and and then when he drops his egg, it cracks, and then really like over the top and fun part is the fact that when it cracks and you see the yolk come out, he starts to explode.
Yeah, he
like different parts of his body, like bit by bit, start to explode like egg yolk.
Yeah,
it's just so fucking weird. It's like you've just got this egg yolk just bursting out of all of his parts of his body. Bit by bit, one by one, it's all just bursting and falling apart and spraying all over, and it's proper over the top. But I really liked it.
Yeah,
it's like a death for a creep in a film. Just staying with that tongue in cheek and just going for it at the very end. It could have been lots of things that happen when the egg cracks, but instead they're like, we're just gonna have him explode like an egg yolk in every part of his body.
Yeah,
his feet come off, his arms, his head explodes. It's pretty
class, isn't it?
Really, really cool.
So this is apparently, I was wondering where it actually came from, and what happened is the way in which clowns actually recorded the look was they painted it on an egg, and then they kept it. It says here they kept it at Wookiee Hole, and that was where they had
and what cheddar
Gorge, yeah. And then that's how they had like an official registry of what everybody's look was, so that like people could just
copy
style, looks.
So their clown design was there. That's really cool.
So there is something there.
Yeah, so I was actual
watching it. I was like, what the fuck? What do clowns have to do with eggs?
Yeah,
like
I get. Yeah, it makes sense. Have an actual thing. I wonder if they have those anyway. I want to go and see them.
I wonder if all the eggs are rotten.
Inside, I'm sure they are.
Inside, yeah, you just eat one.
You're just like, you have to eat his egg.
When they die.
The widow of the clown.
The clown's egg.
When it dies, you must eat his egg.
You must consume.
Does not matter what it is inside, you must eat that egg.
Yeah, you got it, what would happen if they ate Stitch's egg?
What, straight after it?
They just
started eating his yolk, just like
yeah.
I don't know. Do they become him?
Maybe.
They have his power?
They have his powers. I don't know. Because basically you have like a kind of, they go off, Stitches has been, Stitches isn't about anymore. And then we see the clown that was leading the rest of them in the weird service. He's repairing Stitch's egg.
And getting sucked
off at the same time. By
just
the
that
woman
little
who was,
added,
who was on the job.
Yeah, that little poor taste added little tongue-in-cheek
kind
of the fact that he's like carefully stitching together, and then just this other female clown just pops her head up to be like sucking him off.
He's working an egg.
Yeah.
And she's working his eggs.
Yeah.
And that's Stitches.
And then you've got the everybody happy.
Everybody happy.
His catchphrase of the film. Yeah, that's Stitches. And, as I said, there's, I was about to say that there's nothing, there's nothing like that, world changing about it. And there's not, but there is some extremely inventive deaths that I've seen in much, we've seen much higher budget films that don't even try to do this when they could do things like this.
Yeah, definitely.
And these are some of the deaths that I think we've probably seen films in the past when these are kind of what we're hoping for, and it's not what we've got. Whereas I think this film contained within this, what it has to be with actors that they can afford on their budget, with who it is. You got one or two people. The main guy I do notice because he was in, he's in Doctor Who and some other British kind of things and stuff like that. So he was in the Sarah Jane Adventures. He was the son in the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Was he in the... What the fuck is the Sarah Jane Adventures?
You don't know any of that. She was a companion. There was a CBBC show called the Sarah Jane Adventures. It's a Doctor Who spin-off.
Whose companion was she?
One of the old Doctors. The old generation Doctors. But she appeared in David Tennant's run.
Doctor Who's fucking
and then was a spin-off.
I'll be honest. Doctor Who's dog shit. We've had this conversation.
Rob knows nothing of this thing. He's barely watched an episode.
No, we've had this conversation before. There was a period in time where, like, Doctor Who was getting all of these fucking weird spin-offs. Like, I remember Torchwood,
Sarah Jane. It was all the
Sarah
same era.
Jane.
It's the same. It's the same. Well, it's the same guy who runs it has come back to run it now.
Yeah, and I was thinking Doctor Who's.
And now they're doing the same thing now. There's going to be loads of spin-offs of
so wank, It's like, who the fuck who cares about a spin-off to Doctor Who? I'm sorry, it gets me hot.
The Doctor's black now, so that's racist.
I'm
officially racist.
I'm officially
You're trying
racist.
to cancel it because he's black now. That's what you're doing.
And he was a she, so I'm also misogynist.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's not forget this.
It's not. It was perfectly fine when it went all the way to Peter Capaldi, old white dude. You were absolutely.
I was fine.
You were fine with it, and now it went a woman, and then it went black, and now you're just like, you can't cancel
I
it.
love it. I love it.
Goddamn women and.
I love it. You know?
That's how we shut you down.
That's how we kill me.
Do not trust his comments. He's hidden a darker meaning.
I'm hiding a hidden agenda.
Yes.
You know.
He secretly is in love with Nakutigawa.
Yes.
Or Shutigawa.
Shutigawa.
But he hides it in his racist hate.
Yes. Cognitive dissonance.
I found it way more fun than I was expecting. I didn't know what to expect. I think I had seen it on a list. We'd both seen it on a list. I threw it out there as should we do this one? Because I'd always been intrigued, but I was expecting dross. I was expecting this to be really. In the opening couple of moments, the opening 10 minutes or so made me think, this is going to be shit. And some of the character stuff is all over the place. But I can't get away from the fact that the last the whole hour of death kind of thing, or most of an hour, 50 minutes, I think runs pretty thick and fast. Once Ross Noble's kind of as the clown, kind of getting on with stuff. Not that he makes a major because he is pretty much there just to be the killer and do some bad lines.
Yeah,
which are bad funny lines. They're purposefully puns. You know what I mean? But he's kind of there just to do those kind of parts. He's not there to do any other major much else than what he is doing as that kind of pun based clown.
Yeah, that's all he's kind of supposed to be doing. Like I said, it very much reminds me of that Amazon Prime. So I'm going through my letterbox.
It's a you said about the Amazon Prime thing. To take it more back to it would be for other people it would be something that I would expect to see on the Horror Channel.
Yeah,
or something like that. The Freeview Horror Channel, which I'm fairly certain I have seen this on there. I haven't seen it on there, but I've seen it advertised on there before. It's that kind of thing. It's they made it. It had basically no budget. Some people saw it at the time. Maybe some people bought it when it was released on a DVD. But mainly, it is forever committed to the bin of a bargain bin, a Amazon, anything on Amazon.
There was
backlogs.
I'm looking through my letterbox now, and there was a.
No one probably owns copyright on this anymore.
Probably
it's
not. No.
You can do what you want. Me and you will make stitches too.
We'll make it too. It'll be
all about masturbating while eating fruit.
It'll be really homoerotic. There was a film I watched called Blood Bags. There was a film called Pitchfork. I mentioned Windmill Massacre, obviously. There was a film called Trespassers, and it's all these kind of films that are just of this kind of level of filmmaking. However, I think they have a place in horror, man. I wouldn't say that this was an absolute
the low budget British. This is like root British horror. If you go to any British director of horror film who's a classic British director, they've all got a film like this in their back catalogue. Something that was made that looks somewhere around the level of a sci-fi channel kind of film, low level thing. And this is the kind of thing, and I believe I saw this came from that. But we have things like Fright Fest in the UK. Loads of films, independent films that are made for this reason. When I was in uni, we did in Worcester. We did a Worcester Film Festival that I was part of. We had loads of horror directors that came in and did these exact ones with these kind of level, and they were mainly kind of not great, but they had some good parts. They'd got someone who'd done good audio or good special effects. Yeah, and you were like, doesn't really matter about the rest because you actually did some really fucking gross stuff with special effects. So I'm enjoying it. It gives you a good idea of you've got enough there. If you had a bit more of a budget, you could probably go on to do some quite cool stuff. Yeah, and that's kind of it. This is the low level. You've got whoever you've got. Edgar Wright or whatever. They all started somewhere, and this is kind of feels like that. It's something you made when you first got your first grant of funding when you're trying to be a filmmaker, and they're like, here you go. It's not a lot. Go off and make something.
Yeah, go make something mad.
And this is the the foundation of that, and that's the one thing that always make like these kind of ones, you know what I mean? And this is above your standard, they had a camera in their backyard and they went and so, you know what I mean? It's above that kind of level.
It's definitely
they're trying to do something with it. They just don't have the proper constraints or they haven't built up their actually like how to structure it properly yet, how to do it correctly yet. But they're learning, and we wouldn't have any of our filmmakers without this kind of type of cinema. Just not everyone decides to make a low budget horror. Some of them make like a little gritty crime thing like Scorsese or something, and then shot into huge.
Or they make porn.
Yeah, exactly. If you're American and you're in any certain area, you just make porn.
You just make porn,
and then you might get to be someone amazing, or you might end up just doing more porn.
Yeah, you make porn under a pseudonym, and just film that.
Yeah, but I mean, with porn, but this is like they spent like probably like 5 years of their life to make like this one little indie horror of to do this. Whereas if you're in porn, you've made like 500 porn films, and you started last week.
You just need somebody who's hard.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all you need, man.
You just need someone who's hard.
That's all you need.
You know what I mean?
It's pretty easy. But it's a fun film. It's like, I'd recommend people watch it. I would go in.
I think it's a little hidden gem kind of thing. In the not so much so bad it's good. It's not quite in that level. But there is something about it that falls in that kind of level of it's like a fun one to watch, and I can imagine it being fun with a group of mates.
Yeah, I think you got to go into it knowing that it's low budget. It's not gonna be like it's not Hollywood,
and it's not meant to be taken seriously.
No,
the film is made as if it's not meant. It's meant to be tongue in cheek.
Yeah,
it's British horror.
Yeah,
it's British horror. It's most like crude.
It was rather.
We have a lot of these type of horrors. Not every British comedy is Shaun of the Dead.
No,
some of them are a bloke banging some slag in a trailer park.
Banging some slag.
Apologies to that.
Well, and apologies to slags all across the UK. Cats later, your patron saint of slags.
It's absolutely fine. I mean, who's not a slag in this day and age?
Yeah,
we're all sinners.
You're a slag or you're a clown.
We all show off our ankles. We're dirty slags. Yeah, this was Victorian times. You'd be a hot ass slag.
They'd probably kill you because you're ginger.
Probably.
He was some kind of devil spawn.
Well, especially if I showed my ankles.
Yeah, your ankles.
That's the equivalent of banging, whacking off with my cherries and
yeah, that was the
not the variety.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's worth checking out, isn't it? And I think it's a good way to go into a little dip our toes in something a little low budget, ready for next week's summer slasher. Of course, we might have a little surprise for you in between. We might not. I'll be pretty honest. We've booked a secret screening cinema at Cineworld on Tuesday the 6th. So if you're listening to this, it will be tomorrow. If you're listening to this past the 6th, then it would have already happened in this conversation. This stream is just redundant.
It's it's like that. But we are hoping for. There are a couple of little horror-ish kind of films that could be in there.
Could be,
but it might end up just being something like Borderlands or something like that, and they'll be like, "Well, that's not really our podcast."
Yeah.
So we will see. I think we're both hoping for Alien.
We're hoping for Alien,
and
if it is, there will be a spoiler-free review of it. Yeah. But make sure to hit that subscribe button. And come back when we do conclude our summer slasher. We will see you next week. Take care. Goodbye.